These are my top 5 picks for crisp white wines this spring and summer. These are a selection of wines from all over the world of great varieties and regions that produce exceptionally crisp and refreshing styles. So starting off with Portugal, I've selected a Vinho Verde. Vinho Verde is in the north part of Portugal. Typically is made of a blend of indigenous grape varieties. But this one here that I've selected is from the Loureiro grape variety, which is known as the flower grape. So it does have a really nice perfumed and floral aroma and flavor. So I'm gonna give this wine a little taste. I can get those floral blossoms, a little bit of a citrus note. On the palate, what I love about Vinho Verde is it has this really subtle spritz to it. So we get this little dance on the tongue, along with those refreshing characteristics of lemon and crisp apple, and there is just a little hint of that floral note on the palate. This one has a really delicate mineral characteristic. I think this would please a lot of people, from that refreshing, easy drinking style crowd all the way up to the wine connoisseur. This wine would pair really well with anything at the beginning of the meal, any kind of appetizer. It's a very delicate style, so it's you have to be very cautious not to overwhelm the flavors in the wine. So turn towards more of those kind of crisper, fresher foods. One thing that I think also would be really good in the main course, think about a chicken breast, nicely, simply seared, maybe with a little bit of caprese, that mozzarella and tomato to help brighten up those crisp flavors in this wine. Next, something quite different. I've selected Bodega Garzon Albariño. So this winery is actually from Uruguay, and this grape variety comes from Spain. So in the Rías Baixas region in northwest Spain is where you find the Albariño grape variety. It needs a little bit of a cooler climate, which it gets from the Atlantic coast. And there we get this really crisp and refreshing white wine with a little bit of a peach and apple flavor. It does have a little bit of a salty, briny characteristic as well due to that proximity to the sea. But here in Uruguay, we're producing that same grape variety, but it still gives you this really tangy, zesty, fruity style as well. And this is becoming one of Uruguay's signature white grape varieties. So I can smell that peach and apple note. This is a wine that's typically unoaked, so we get some really nice purity of fruit. I really love the tangy acidity of this Albariño. It almost has that kind of fuzzy peach candy flavor, which is quite nice and easy sipping style. Albariño is a great match with seafood dishes, just like you would experience on the coast. Next up, moving to the beautiful Okanagan Valley, I've selected Quail's Gate Dry Riesling. I love BC wines, especially their Rieslings. And Riesling is a grape variety that typically has a higher level of acidity. And that high level of acidity gives you that nice mouth-watering sensation. When we have a dry Riesling, it kind of enhances that crispness on the palate. The grape variety Riesling has a little bit more of a lime and white floral characteristic. And depending on how ripe it is when it's harvested, we can also get some nice peachy flavors as well. What I like about the Quail's Gate Dry Riesling is that it does have those characteristics of Rieslings, but without any sweetness on the palate. So I can smell that nice lime and white blossom. The palate follows through with lime, peach, white blossom characteristics, and it has that nice zippy acidity as well, without any of the sweetness that we typically associate with Riesling. This is a great pairing with all Asian cuisine, especially pad thai. My go-to option for Riesling is always something with just a little bit of heat, and there's lots of flavors to cover when it comes to the pad thai dish, and this one will blanket all of those. Also think about other kind of cold noodle dishes, excellent. If you're looking for other dry styles of Riesling, you can also look to Australia, or just look at the label and search for the word dry to indicate to you that we have less sugar in the glass. But to be honest, I also like a little bit of sugar in my Riesling as well. It still can be really nice and refreshing, even with a hint of sweetness. So moving now to South Africa, I've selected the Reyneke Organic Chenin Blanc, another grape variety with really crisp, zesty acidity. This one is made unoaked, so very fruit forward in style. Chenin Blanc gives you a little bit more of a waxy texture, peach and melon, some nice ripe fruit characteristics, which is definitely showing in this wine here. So I can smell that melon, a little bit of peach and honey. I love a little bit more of this weightier texture, but then balanced by that really fresh characteristic, very typical of Chenin Blanc. Another great seafood option as well. And then lastly, moving to Matua Hawke's Bay Sauvignon Blanc. When we think about Sauvignon Blanc, we immediately go to that very refreshing style from the Marlborough region in New Zealand. That's where kind of the heart of Sauvignon Blanc is in New Zealand. But what I like about this one is we're actually on the North Island in the northeast side in Hawke's Bay. A little bit warmer, riper climate. Chardonnay is actually the predominant grape variety there, but of course Sauvignon Blanc and New Zealand just go hand in hand over the whole country. So what I like about New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is that it has this really intense tropical characteristic. When you think about Sauvignon Blanc, it is a very aromatic white grape variety, but when it comes from New Zealand, there's something about it where the intensity is just dialed way up to the top. So if you got a volume 10 as your max, this is volume 11. It's just so loud and so expressive. And I think that's why one of the reasons New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is so popular. So for this one, like I said, we get some really tropical notes. This time more of a passion fruit and guava. Sauvignon Blanc also has a little bit of a green, grassy, and herbaceous characteristic, and even in New Zealand, we find that showing through. So there is a bit of a cut green grass, a bit asparagus, green bell pepper note on the nose. And there it is. It's loud, it's proud. It is Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand, passion fruit, gooseberry, cut grass, and green bell pepper. It's not apologizing to anybody for what it is. It's fantastic. It's an easy sipping style. You can just enjoy a glass of this on the patio by itself. For Sauvignon Blanc, the classic pairing is something along the green notes of asparagus. Goat cheese is a perfect pairing. Think about putting those into a quiche with some nice fresh herbs. The richness of the egg pairs perfectly with that nice crisp acidity in the Sauvignon Blanc. And we can build any kinds of intensity of flavors in the dish as well because of that bold intensity in the wine. So here we have a wide selection of crisp white wines from around the world, hopefully some new grape varieties that you've never heard of or tried before, and you're looking to explore these new wines.